Hello everybody, it's SuffolkBlue, all the way from merry old England. How the devil are you? I hope you're well. Welcome back to another episode of our Kerbal Space Program adventures. Today we begin to try and sort this contract out, which is the exploration of the moon. Getting an orbit around the moon, getting some data from around the moon, landing on the moon if we can, and then transmitting and recovering some data from the surface of the moon if possible. Now, we're not going to do a manned mission today because, quite frankly, that's just not a sensible idea at the moment. We need to send some robots first to make sure that it is safe for our Kerbal nauts to go and do these sorts of missions. So I've already been a bit busy. And I've begun to create, and I think I've nearly finished the creation of our first Lunar rocket. And I wanted to sort of build a little bit off camera and then talk you just through some of the principles of what we've got on here. And then, of course, you can see whether we'll all see together whether it works. What I've done is I've started to use the larger propulsion parts. All right, we've used the thin rockets up until now, and we're now looking at, okay, well let's have a look at something like the Skipper, the Rockomax Skipper liquid engine. And I also want to see, before we launch this, whether or not there is a contract for using this whilst landed, because if there is, it's easy money for us. But you can see that this is the smaller part of the mainsail engine, and we only have one of these on the bottom of here, but we do have, and that won't be enough to get this off the pad on its own, obviously. It needs a bit of push. So we're going to be using some of these new SRBs, these KD25Ks. They give quite a lot of thrust. They last a little bit longer than obviously some of the other ones that we've used, which are only half the size. And only give double the thrust. So hopefully that'll be enough to get us off the pad and on our way. We are going to have to be really careful, I think, getting this thing into orbit. Let's just check the center of mass. Where is it? In the center of the rocket, that's where we want it. And the center of thrust, hopefully that's directly above, and it sort of is. So with a bit of luck, center of lift at the base where we want it. So with a bit of luck, I think we should be able to get into orbit with this, but it is going to be a bit touch and go. It's a whopper. It's quite a few stages, actually. The first stage is a full launch. Everything at the bottom here fires at once. So everything goes at the beginning and gets us up, hopefully to about 10,000 meters, hopefully traveling at a bit of speed, because this engine, once these go, this is going to be quite a drop back in speed, and we're really going to have to build that speed back up again to get ourselves into orbit. Quite a tricky orbital launch, I think, of this one, if it is even successful getting us there. Then we have what I'm going to call our insertion stage. This is the stage. Hopefully we'll have enough to get into orbit using all of this, plus maybe a bit of this, but maybe not. Hopefully all of this would be great. If not, then this one here is our insertion stage, and that's the stage which is actually going to make the burn to get us into a lunar orbit, or at least to get is in the influence of the moon to try and get a capture. We're going to use the Poodle engine. It's 220, so it gives us a little bit more than one of these LV25s, and it's going to be hopefully enough to get us into an insertion. Again, we will have to see. It's all a little bit touch and go. We don't really know. Never tested them, never used them. We've also got here a Poodle engine, giving us a 50. I don't know whether I'm going to need this. This might be for fine-tuning. I might actually use this to help bring us down. If I'm not really so sure whether my lander, the fuel, obviously our lander is quite small, and I'm not really 100% sure whether these thrusters on their own are going to be enough to slow us down from, the speeds that we're going to be at whilst orbiting the moon. But this might be enough to get us down to some pretty reasonable speeds, and then we can begin to look and see whether we can keep this down. Look, this is all experimentation. We've never been to the moon. We have no idea what its gravity is all about, so it could get a bit messy. I'm wondering whether I should put some struts on here, but I'm sort of resisting the urge, and I'm also not happy that I haven't got an awful lot of battery on here. We do have some solar panels, obviously, so that should be fine, but I'm going to put on, just because now I've made myself nervous, I'm going to put on a little bit more battery power at that point. Maybe overkill, but we'll see. We don't need any pressure detectors on this, there's no point. I could put a light on here, maybe, but these are huge lights. They're massive. Can we do just 2 of those? Maybe something like that. I mean, they're whoppers, but it's nice to have lights because then you'll be able to see where the shadow is and hopefully sort of landing out. So we've got a communitron on top here. We have got a little power supply. We've got some solar panels, a single goo canister for the surface, and tucked in just here is a temperature gauge also for the surface. So if we do land, we'll get a goo sample and we'll get a temperature sample, but everything else we won't really be able to get. In lunar orbit, we obviously want to get some goo whilst we're out that distance. We want to get some temperature whilst we're out there, and a materials vapor when we actually get into orbit around the moon. And we will also then launch, we've also got a communitron here for launching that back to Kerbal. If we do obviously use this as a lander, then that piece here is going to be completely destroyed. We're not recovering anything apart from electronic communication signals. We have got lander legs on this, and if we just extend them, you can see that should be enough for a good decent plop down. Providing we get the speed down, I suppose. Let's put them back. Obviously, again, if we had fairings, this would all be covered up with fairings. You wouldn't see any of this when the rocket launched, but we don't, so we don't have any of that. I think the best we can do now is to give this a little launch and see really how we get on. Let's save this up. I've called this SuffolkBlue Mooner 1. It may not be, if it crashes, we may have to come up with a Mooner 2, but we'll have to see that. I think we give it a whirl and we see what happens. It's a costly thing. It's 65,000, and actually this contract, I don't know what the contract is for this, but I don't think we're going to make that back from this launch. But we'll see. You know, you don't always get all the money back, but we'll get some of it back. We won't get any recovery, of course. So we've got our power, we've got our science, we've got our communitrons. We've got our structurals. Let's save. Let's launch. Here we go. Everything seems to be stable on the pad. It's quite a whopper though. Look, I've made another enormous rocket, really. Just for this top part is all we're trying to get to the moon. Just check the staging. These will separate main engine launch, sorry, it's not a main sail, plus the SRBs. Then we have separation of SRBs. We've got our little separatrons on there. Then we've got separation of the main propulsion unit plus separatrons. Then we've got firing of the mini engine. Well, I think we give it a whirl. Hopefully we don't lose our probe in mid-launch. It's really only connected by that tiny little bit at the top, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. The Kraken might bite. We never know. We normally want to wait for the moon. If we want to do a single burn to the moon, we want to wait really until the moon is rising. We're not going to do that though. We actually want to get into an orbit, so it's not going to matter. Let me just open that up. I don't think that disappears. We might have a bit of spin on this. We'll have to see. On goes our computer controls, so that's now on. I'm going to put our thrust up only to about under half. I don't want to use that really too much liquid fuel. But I think we are going to need it to better get off the pad, and I think that the SRBs will do their bit. So, fingers and toes crossed, everyone. This is 65,000 units worth of cash, and let's go in 3, 2, 1. Well, we've definitely got a good push. Let's pull ourselves back a little bit. Looks pretty impressive. It's a good amount of lift anyway, going up pretty quickly. We want to get to, I think we want to go beyond 10,000 before we start our gravity assist burn, but we shall see. Everything's good so far. Nothing wobbling. We aren't losing the top probe. That hasn't fallen off yet, which is great. We've got plenty of power. That's great. Halfway through our solid rocket booster burn now. Good speed. Okay, we are going to have to crank up that main power in a second or two as we begin to push for what we want to push for is altitude. So now hitting the 200 mark again. Can't really do anything. Don't want to cut back on power at this point. Want to get speed now to try and get plenty of height. Now going to start ready to crank up now. Main sail engine cranked up. Ready for separation. Brilliant. Off they go. They did a good job. So we are losing speed already. 240. Will we get into orbit? This is a great question. We have got a little rotation. Got to correct for that so that when I do the insertion, I'm on the right line-ish, give or take. We can always change a little bit of that in orbit. Still going upwards. I want to start getting more speed before I start the turn over, really. Got to burn the fuel is what we're doing. Burning the fuel. We're losing. It's very inefficient to lose all this delta V, all this lift, but never mind. Still going up. Beginning to catch up ourselves. 170. Keep burning. Keep burning. A little bit of a turn starting, because we're just beginning to creep back up. 168. It's very slow. But we are going up still. In the medium part of the atmosphere now, so speed will pick up once we get into the thinner parts. Again, a little turnover just to give a hint of the direction of travel. Don't want to go too far. That'll do. That'll do. Back up to 200 almost now. So half the fuel gone. That's fine. I'm really impressed actually how this is handling. I say that now, you watch the thing will blow up in about 5 seconds. Okay, speed is, again, we're just picking up that speed again, 225, pushing through. 28, 29 to 30,000. Ready to push into the really thin part of the atmosphere, and now I'm going to start pulling us over a little bit. Let's have a look at our, yeah, we're at 38. Let's begin to just stretch that arc out a little bit. We want to get up to about 80 to 85 sort of thousand meters. 85 kilometers will be well into orbit and will also allow us to hopefully have enough oomph to form a bit of an orbit. Again, just turning it over now just to stretch out that arc. Bring it in line with our prograde direction so we're getting the maximum speed on it. 55. Stretch it out. 57. Pretty good. I don't know how much fuel I've got left on this stage. Not a lot. Not a lot at all. But it's okay. The main thing is that we really do need to try to get up to at least 85, because we are still in the atmosphere a little bit at the moment. 72. We'll just be in space at that point, give or take, which is fine. It's all good. 78, 79, 80. I'm going to cut this off about 85 and then see how much fuel we've got. That will do. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got a little bit left in there. Let's get ourselves onto a... Oops, let's get ourselves into a... Oops, why will you keep doing that? There we go. Let's get ourselves into an orbit maneuver so that we know how long we're going to need to burn. We may need to burn straight away, but we shall see. 88 by 81. Not bad. Let's see if we can do that. 82 by 90. Too much. 81 by 88. That'll do. So we've got 44 seconds. So we need to get on that mark. Let's, if we can pull ourselves over, get on that mark and begin the burn. Because we're going to be short if not. I'm going to be off centre there, but never mind. I needed the extra push from the engines to get me on their mark. There we go. Full power. We will lose this engine very soon, but you can see we're cutting into this speed that we need, which is fabulous. Keep it going. Get ready for stage. And then we go straight onto the little engine. Don't know how much power it's going to give us, but we have cut down a good third of that speed needed. And go. And go. Brilliant. We are going to be over a little bit, so we're going to have to adjust for that as we go. That's a good stage. This looks quite fuel efficient, which is really pleasing to see. Haven't lost anything up there, which is brilliant. Excellent. Let's have a little look. You can see us extending. We have gone over IP, though. This is depressing because that might mean that we don't get... Well, we should get into orbit, but it is going to mean that I wonder if I can just pull that up a little bit, that nose, start to pull that AP back a wee bit, but the main thing is to try and get into orbit. We're now starting to come back down again, which is fine. We're still in space. We've only got 500 meters per second to build up, so hopefully we'll be alright. Let's get ourselves on that blue. That's where we want to be. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Stay out of the 70s. Well, we'll get into 70s, but let's stay out of 72. Let's get into orbit way before that, hopefully. 30, 300. Come on. Burnt a little late there for that apparatus. Never mind. Hopefully it won't be a huge problem. We won't crash straight back into the atmosphere. We're in the 10s now, so we should hopefully just miss slamming back into orbit. Oh, there we go. I don't know whether that's going to be too bad. We're really low on this side, so we'll have to see. And tick. Let's have a look at this orbit. It's going to be awful, I think, because we were well... Oh, it's not too bad. We are going to crash, though. Unless we do an immediate burn to the moon, which actually I think is exactly what I'm going to do. So we have to do an emergency maneuver to see if we can get out to the moon. I don't know whether we're going to have enough time to do it. It needs to burn there. Good gracious. I don't think we're going to have enough to do it. I think we're going to crash. But let's get ourselves burning. Let's get ourselves burning now. And see whether we can extend that periapsis out a wee bit. So this wasn't quite how I planned. I didn't want to do quite a burn. We're going to go off at an angle. That's our trajectory out into Kerbal escape after 3 days, after we have a gravity assist from the moon. Not quite. Oh, we're not too bad on the parallel, so that's okay. Oh, keep on the blue, otherwise everything goes wrong. Keep on the blue. Don't know. We should be safe now, but we're gonna keep the burn going. This is whether we'll be able to get into orbit or not is a good question. Just flung ourselves out into space, but we'll see. The actual encounter starts here and ends here, which should give us plenty of oomph to try and do a capture. So you can see us extending our apparatus out to reach out towards where the moon is. Staying on the blue. Just going to start slowing that down as we stretch out. You can see here we only need 100 and... Are we going through the atmosphere? I suppose we are now, aren't we? Haha! This is what you call not the right way to do this, I'll be honest. Oh, it's a disaster. I think we have to start again. As we crash. Look at this. What a waste. Well, we learned something. Need to get into orbit better. Let's try again. I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep trying. You just saw the fail. There was the fail. How fabulous. I'm going to keep trying. What about all of that? Once I get to a good orbit, I'll bring you back in. Welcome back, everybody. Well, it took only another attempt, actually, and I wish I'd recorded it, because it was a really, really beautiful launch. But as you can see, oh, yeah, I don't know what I did wrong the first time. But there we go, 82 by 78. That's pretty good. The moon is actually going to be rising any second. So if I want to do a maneuver, which I'm going to go straight into do, we're not going to mess about. We're going to do this, and we're going to see whether or not we can get a good lunar encounter at some point around here. Oops, let's just take that and move that around here until we can see. There. So we're not far off. Something a bit like that, I think, would be pretty good. still in an orbit around Kerbal even if we miss. The burn is 1 minute or so, so let's get ourselves ready for that. I've already extended our service module panels at the front just to make sure we keep the power, because we are going to go through the darker side of the planet. We want to point towards Kerbal because we're actually going to sort of speed up as we go around, but it's a 1 minute 21 second burn. We want to go at about 40 seconds left, so we're approaching the periapsis. I can put the lights on. Bing! How much power do they use? Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Let's turn them off again. There we go. No point using them now. Yeah, the second launch was brilliant. It was a perfect, you know, sort of the perfect launch you want, really. It went straight up. I think the thing that I did is I didn't give enough gravity turn on it to get enough distance between me. That's a mountain. That is a high mountain if I can see it from here. I didn't give myself enough push to get over, so my height never really. The height was okay, but the distance wasn't enough to make us fall around the planet, which is what an orbit is. So my mistake, but we learned. It's okay. Didn't cost anything. Nobody died. We're a little bit off on the plane, but I'm going to leave that. It should be still enough to get into an orbit around the moon. It's not. I'm not seeing that as a huge problem. 121. So let me think. 60 seconds would be 2 minutes. Yeah, about 40 seconds, give or take. Then what we'll do, essentially, we're going to stretch our orbit here out. Is what we're going to do. We're going to speed up enough to stretch our orbit out to catch ourselves on this particular trajectory out towards the moon. And that's all you do. That's what we do. And I think, you know, it can be. I think New Horizons was the NASA probe that took about 2 days to get to the moon. It's the fastest spacecraft ever made, I think, and that's the spacecraft which will be investigating Pluto in July of next year as it flies past. But I think normally it takes a lot longer. It takes about a week, I think, to get to the moon in manned missions. So well, I don't know how long this one will take, but we'll see. So I'm going to launch now. You can see straight away the orbit starts to move and shift as we push our apoapsis out and stretches it out towards. And you begin to see that egg shape. You can see we're now powering round the back of the planet. So we're at full kelter. We just got to burn it out, really. Stretching out already to 500. This would be the furthest we've been out away from Kerbal. Let's keep on the blue there, so we keep our trajectory right. This actually creeps out really quickly, so it's not. It's more a case of making sure you don't accidentally overburn is what you don't want to do. Already out 300 meters. Oh, look at this, 300 meters per second left needed. Let's keep on that blue. There, straight away you can see it really beginning to stretch out now, already over the 2 million meters mark. Starting to cut those engines back a little bit so that I can better control the insertion. Stay on the blue. Really cut them engines back now. 24, 23, 22, 21. Just stretching it round, keep on the blue and cut. Just get ourselves in a slightly better position just to make some corrections. .1. That's not bad. We get a Munera counter. We'll see if we're able to. I mean, it's a bit on the huh. Oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. We managed to correct for that a little bit, I think. But there we go. So we're now, and there is the moon. That's why we're flying towards it now. So as it starts to rise, we're in the best place. And really now the wait begins. This Munera encounter is actually going to take us only 2 hours. So it's pretty good speed for this spacecraft to get here. Although the distance isn't, I don't think, comparable to the moon on Earth. But it's pretty good time. Excellent. Let's just give ourselves a little bit of a push as we leave or at least leave the immediate orbit of Kerbal. We'll still be under the influence of the planet, though. It's a big planet, so it's still going to have the gravity upon us, which is why actually this is still a return, still an orbit. You know, although I think this moon encounter will knock us out of that probably with the gravity assist that we get. How far out are we? Let's do a little science trip at this point, because we're the furthest we've ever been. Looking back on our planet, there's the sun. Where did I put the... There it is, log temperature. Current temperature right now. So I think we're on our way. We've launched. We've built it. I'll just get ourselves, if we can just get ourselves into a lunar orbit, which would be fantastic. Just approaching that encounter now. Slow ourselves down, ready for that. That encounter is 9 minutes away. You should be able to see the moon pretty clearly now. There we go. Much bigger in the field of view. Kerbal obviously much smaller. Let's do a goo all the way out here and see whether that matters. It does not. Does not matter at all. So again, we're going to wait. We're 8 minutes away from the encounter with the moon. And that's the start of it. And then what you'll see is we'll have to then plan our orbiting burn, our slowdown burn, to capture ourselves in orbit around the moon. 36 seconds. I don't know. Achieve an orbit. Yeah, we only have to achieve an orbit. Far enough away. Observe the goo. Just one last time. Nope. Getting anything from here. 17, 16, 15. Here we go. Our first real encounter with the moon. You can see the moon here. I'm assuming we're going to come in pretty pronounced around that moon, if the truth be told. Let's have a look. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So this is where our periapsis is. So if we wanted to burn here to slow ourselves down, you can see we can hook ourselves around the moon at that point. The main thing we want to do really, I think, is just get ourselves, however wide that orbit might be to start with. We can soon play around with it, of course. Something like that, 992 by 962. That gets us in a high orbit around the moon. We only need 440 delta V to do, or speed to do that. So I think it's delta V. I think I've got that right. Let's put ourselves... Oops. Whoa, 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 whoa. How much power have I got? Oh, okay. I thought I'd lost electricity then. Let's put ourselves on that mark. We've got ages until we reach that. We've got another hour. But we are now in the influence of the moon, so we can start doing a little... Let's get our... extend that out. Brilliant. Let's take a temperature reading, because I wonder if we can at this range. We cannot. Let's take a goo. Can we do that? We can. So we mystery goo an observation whilst in space high over the moon. We get 30 science, or just 9 if we transmit. Well, we can only transmit, I'm afraid. We're never going to be retrieving this, so it's a bit of a waste, but let's transmit it anyway. Up it goes. And there is our first science received from the moon, and you can see straight away, transmit or recover scientific data from space around the moon. We haven't achieved orbit, of course, but we have at least sent back the first information. Again, can't extend that once you've used it, you've used it. Seems a bit odd. Let's get ourselves ready then for this orbital burn in. So let's have a look. How long is that burn? 31 seconds. Not very long. Probably still want to go at about 20 seconds out, really. We don't want to miss this, of course, because we will end up flowing ourselves out probably into a very high Kerbal orbit. Bringing it down, bringing it down. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute. Let's knock that down. So here we go. Prepare ourselves for this. Can we take another goo? Does it matter? Are we closer? Almost no science returned at that point, so we won't do that. Here we go then. There is the moon, the big old chunk of moon in front of us. How much energy have we got? Not a lot. It's okay. It's fine. how much that uses. It's not too bad. I don't waste it really. Are we ready? Here we go for an insertion burn, and then we'll have achieved orbit. I think next video we'll try the landing and do all that sort of bits and bobs. The main thing was just to see whether we could get here using the bigger rocket, which we can, which is a bit of a it's a heck of a nightmare launch there if we're not careful. Let's do that now. We're launching now. So we kick that off. The main thing is just to be captured at this point. Got plenty of fuel, loads of fuel to get really close to the moon, so I'm not too concerned with that at the moment. The main thing is just to get ourselves captured. Again, just bringing that down a little bit. Let's just sort that out a wee bit, I think. We have achieved orbit around the moon, so we've done that part of this particular contract. Let's just tidy that up a little bit. 7654321 0.0. Pretty much spot on. At 988 by 953, we are in orbit around the moon. Oh, look at that. It's almost the same size from there. Brilliant. So, there we go. We have achieved orbit. We haven't got any power yet because we're in darkness, but that's okay. Plenty of power. We have completed 2 parts. Achieve orbit around the moon complete. We get money at every stage, so we've got a little bit more cash coming through there. And we've transmitted some data as well. Let's just do another goo while we're here now in orbit. 23.1. Again, not really making anything out of that though. We want to save the materials bay for something exciting, I hope, as we get a bit closer. Can't see. I might turn the lights on. Hasn't really helped. There it is. Can we get a temperature from out here yet? Not yet. So there we go. We'll leave it there for today. We are in orbit around the moon. We have a moon emission. Let's turn off those lights. We have achieved orbit. Next time when we come back, we will attempt to get closer to that orbit and then see if we can do a landing with our wee little lander all the way at the top here. I don't know whether it'll have enough oomph, but we shall see. So thanks very much for watching. If you've liked the video, please do give a like, give a thumbs up. It means a great deal to me. Share the video with everybody you know. That's also so fantastic. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Lots more coming up. Obviously got the Minecraft Attack of the B Team stuff going on as well. Fix that Java issue. Go and have a look at that video. It was just brilliant to be back playing that game. Still looking for a third game. If anyone's got any ideas, do leave a message and I'll get back to you. But thanks again for watching. You take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.